The negotiation table aboard the Velkaresh station had seen 400 years of surrenders. Every species that sat in that curved chamber, beneath the soft violet light of the Concorde's chandeliers, eventually signed. The Skarn signed after their moons were seeded with kinetic rods. The Ithra signed after a single warning shot turned their capital's ocean to steam. Diplomacy in this galaxy was simply a formality performed before the inevitable. Ambassador Threl of the Cordath Assembly had done this 11 times. He expected a 12th. Across the table sat two humans. A woman in a plain gray uniform, and a man beside her who hadn't said a word in 20 minutes. "Your colonies in the Perseus Arm," Threl said, his mandibles clicking with practiced patience, "will be ceded to the Assembly within 30 days. Resist, and we will not ask a 13th time." The woman, Ambassador Sarachan, folded her hands. "We've heard that sentence before. From the Skarn. From the Ithra. Would you like to know where their fleets are now?" Threl's optic ridges lowered. It was not a question anyone asked him. Not anymore. "Scattered," he said. "Absorbed. As yours will be." "No," Chun said quietly. "Ask your historians. Ask them what happened to the last 3 fleets that crossed into human space uninvited." The silence that followed was not fear. It was something the Cordath had never learned to recognize in another species, because they had spent centuries only ever seeing it in the mirror. It was pity. The Cordath Assembly had catalogued humanity the way they catalogued everything, as a resource to be weighed, a threat to be measured, a variable to be solved. Their intelligence reports were thorough. Population, modest. Territory, small. Technology, inconsistent, sometimes primitive, sometimes inexplicably advanced. Military doctrine, aggressive beyond reason for a species so young. What the reports could not measure was why. They didn't understand that humans had clawed their way out of oceans, out of ice ages, out of 100,000 years of nothing but teeth and starlight, without a single ally to help them. Every other spacefaring species the Cordath had met had been lifted, guided by an elder civilization, handed the stars like a gift. Humanity had taken them. "They are bluffing," said General Vex, commander of the Second Fleet, as the Cordath War Armada gathered at the edge of human territory. 400 warships, hulls black as the space between stars, arranged in a formation designed to break the will of anyone who saw it. "They have one ship," Vex continued, staring at the sensor readout. "One. Then why?" Threl asked slowly. "Does Ambassador Chun look like she is waiting for a bus?" The single human contact appeared on long-range sensors 3 hours later. It did not accelerate. It did not maneuver. It simply arrived, sliding out of a fold in space with a stillness that unsettled every officer on the Cordath Bridge more than 1,000 screaming engines would have. "Designation," Vex demanded. The sensor officer's antennae trembled. "UNS Prometheus's Mercy. Titan class. Sir, the mass reading, it can't be right. Recalibrating. Recalibrate faster. Sir, it is right. That ship weighs as much as a small moon." Every screen on the bridge lit with the same impossible silhouette. A vessel 2 kilometers long, plated in matte gray armor scarred with the marks of old battles never repaired, only reinforced. It bore no decoration, no insignia larger than a modest flag near the bow. It did not need to announce what it was. Simply was. "Open a channel," Vex said, and for the first time in his long career, his voice did not carry command, carried a question. The face that appeared on the view screen was not a general's. It was a woman perhaps 60 years old, silver-haired, sitting in a chair that looked more like a grandmother's reading nook than a warship's command seat. Behind her, through a viewport, stars turned slowly. "Captain Elena Reyes," she said. "You're inside the boundary we asked you not to cross." Vex straightened. "We come with the full authority of the Cordath Assembly. Stand down or be destroyed." Reyes tilted her head, almost gently, the way one might look at a child who had said something they didn't fully understand. "General, do you know why this ship is called Prometheus's Mercy?" Silence. "Prometheus," she continued, "was a being from our oldest stories, He stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity, knowing he'd be punished forever for it. We named our first Titan-class ship after him, because building it cost us more than you'll ever know. We buried 30,000 of our own to learn how to build something this large without it collapsing under its own weight. 30,000 names are etched into the hull beneath this armor plating. We call it mercy because every single time we've had to use it, we prayed we wouldn't need to. Vex's mandibles parted, but no words came. 400 ships, Reyes said, not unkindly. We counted. We're not afraid of the number. We're afraid of what happens after the number, General. For you, not for us. Threl watched the exchange from Chen's side of the table, back on the station, on a secondary feed. He watched Vex's formation, the pride of the Cordath military, begin ship by ship to disengage. Not out of fear of firepower. Out of the sudden, dawning understanding that they were facing something they had never faced before. A species that built its greatest weapons not to conquer, but to protect, and grieved every soul spent building them. Why? Threl asked Chen quietly. Does she speak of mercy while holding the largest gun in this quadrant? Chun looked at him, really looked, the way one species finally sees another clearly for the first time. Because we know what it costs to need one, she said. Every species we've met assumed strength meant cruelty. That's the story you've all been told for 400 years. But strength isn't the absence of gentleness, Ambassador. It's what lets gentleness survive. Threl said nothing. On the screen, the Cordath fleet was withdrawing, not in retreat, but in something closer to reverence. We don't want your territory, Chen said. We never did. We want to go home, raise our children, bury our dead with dignity, and be left in peace. But if you take that from us, we will become the thing you feared we already were. Later, in the Assembly's private records rewritten in time by historians who had once called humanity primitive, one line would be quoted for generations across 100 worlds. They did not send their fleet to conquer us. They sent one ship, named for mercy, and taught us more about strength in an hour than 400 years of war ever had. And for the first time, the galaxy understood what it truly meant to be human.